picture this. A top scientist at the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, a guy at the absolute peak of his career, just walks away from his dream job. After 21 years, and he didn't leave for a better offer. No, he says he was forced out by censorship. His story really pulls back the curtain on this huge clash between science and politics. Yeah, that's the man himself, Dr. Kevin Hall. And that quote, wow, it gets right to the heart of what we're talking about today. It's about what happens when real science, which is messy, it's complicated, smashes right into politics, which, let's be honest, wants everything to be simple and black and white. So, you've got to be asking, how does one of the top nutrition guys on the planet end up in a showdown with his own government? Well, to really get it, we've got to rewind. We need to go back to the beginning of his career, which was pretty unusual to say the least.
Okay, so the first thing you need to know about Dr. Hall is he wasn't your typical nutrition expert. Not even close. He was a physicist. You know, a numbers guy. He was all about math, building models, and just looking at the hard, objective data.
I mean, his career path was just totally different. He starts out with a PhD in physics, modeling things like cardiac arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats. From there, he jumps to a biotech startup, building these complex computer models for type 2 diabetes. So by the time he lands at the NIH in 2003, he's bringing this physicist's brain, this totally quantitative way of thinking, into a field where he was, frankly, a complete outsider.
And you know what? This is what was so cool about the NIH back then. They looked at his background and didn't see a problem. They saw an opportunity. They basically said, here are the keys to the kingdom. Take your physics-based approach and let's see what you can do in the real world. They funded him to run these incredibly meticulous human studies, some of the most tightly controlled studies ever done.
So with that kind of freedom and funding, he got right to work. And he didn't just dip his toes in. He dived headfirst into the biggest, most heated debates in the entire diet world. The thing is, his goal was never to prove one diet was best. He wanted to get under the hood and test the why, the actual mechanisms everyone was fighting about.
And where did he start? Oh, just with the holy war of dieting. Low carb versus low fat. You know the claim, right? For decades, low-carb advocates have been saying there's this special metabolic advantage. Cut the carbs, they said, and your body turns into a fat-burning furnace, no matter the calories. So Dr. Hall was like, all right, let's actually test that.
So he sets up this incredible metabolic ward study. I'm talking every single gram of food is weighed and controlled. And at first, the low-carb diet did exactly what it was supposed to do. Insulin levels dropped, fat burning went up. But, and this is a huge but, here comes the twist. The low-fat diet group, they actually lost a tiny bit more body fat. In the end, the difference was so small it was basically a wash. Clinically meaningless, as he put it. The big takeaway? There was no magic metabolic trick.
Okay, so next up, he tackles another one of those big diet myths, but from a totally different angle. You've heard this a million times. Maybe you've even said it. Ugh, I can't lose weight. My metabolism is just so slow. Well, Dr. Hall studied the contestants from that TV show, The Biggest Loser, to figure out if that was really what was going on.
And what he found? It completely flipped the script on what we thought we knew. It turns out a slow metabolism wasn't the reason people failed to keep weight off. It was the result of losing a ton of weight in the first place. The contestants who had the most success, the ones who lost the most weight, were the exact same ones whose metabolism slowed down the most. It wasn't a sign of failure. It was a sign of success.
But of all his studies, it was his research on ultra-processed foods, or UPFs, that was really going to light the fuse. This is the work that set him on a direct collision course with the political world. He designed this absolutely landmark study to figure out what it was about these foods specifically that was causing problems. And the results were just staggering. Get this. When people were allowed to eat as much as they wanted from an ultra-processed menu, they automatically, without even trying, ate 500 extra calories a day. 500, compared to when they were eating whole foods. And the craziest part? They didn't even say they liked the processed food more. Something in the food itself was just making them overeat. It was wild. Okay, so here's where things get complicated. All this fascinating, nuanced research is coming out of Dr. Hall's lab, right at the exact same moment that a huge political movement is taking off. And this movement, it had a very, very simple story about what was wrong with America's health. This was the Make America Healthy Again movement, MHA for short. And they put fixing chronic disease front and center. And who was their number one bad guy, their primary villain? You guessed it, ultra-processed foods. And just like that, Dr. Hall's research wasn't just in a lab notebook anymore. It was smack dab in the middle of a political firestorm.
And here's the problem. Dr. Hall's actual science, it didn't fit the nice, simple story. His data showed there wasn't really a metabolic advantage to low-carb diets. He did another study that found, hey, these ultra-processed foods don't light up the brain's reward center like, say, cocaine does. And his main finding on UPFs was that the reason we overeat them is probably super complex. It could be the texture, the calorie density, a bunch of things. Basically, science was saying it's complicated, but politics wanted a simple enemy to fight.
And it wasn't long before that pressure went from being subtle to being, well, really obvious. After his food addiction study came out, a reporter from the New York Times calls him up. She tells him she just got a call from a high-level communications official, and this official was basically asking her why her article didn't support their political messaging. The alarm bells started ringing. And that phone call? It was just the beginning. A clear pattern started to emerge. First, an invitation for him to speak at an event gets blocked by political appointees. Okay. Then the official clearance for one of his scientific papers gets pulled back. Then, and this is a big one, his written answers for an interview get changed by officials, edited to make his findings sound less significant. He lays all of this out in an email to his bosses, and the response he gets back is crickets. Absolute silence.
So now Dr. Hall is stuck between a rock and a hard place. What do? Do you stay at the place you've called home for 2 decades and risk your science being twisted and manipulated? Or do you walk away from it all?
With no one responding, no path to fix things, he made his choice. He took early retirement. He just felt he couldn't do his job anymore, couldn't share his research without interference. I mean, think about the irony here. The guy who was given all this freedom to chase the truth was now leaving because he felt that very same truth was being suppressed.
And if you thought the story ended there, nope. There's one last, really bizarre twist. After his story blows up in the news, the NIH actually invites him back. They offer him a handshake deal to run a brand new major nutrition research project. He's thrilled, right? It looks like things are turning around. And then, a few weeks later, the whole project gets killed, just canceled from on high with zero explanation. Absolutely baffling. So this whole story with Dr. Hall, it really leaves us with a huge question, doesn't it? We all want simple answers for these massive problems like obesity and chronic disease. But in our rush for a simple bad guy, are we shutting down the actual science, the complex, messy science that we need to find real answers? What really gets lost when the search for truth becomes, well, just politically inconvenient?